So.
Is that your stomach?
Did they just move a table? That's the chanting.
It sounded like
Sorry.
chanting.
That was
It's
fun.
I'll just move myself closer.
That was Tim.
Yeah, he's all right.
Can we like make it so Tim can see the room?
He can't.
can-
He can see you too.
You too.
Oh, he sees us.
Yeah.
Can we see him? Is there a way to do that?
Yeah, I just got
There's a
turned.
little thing of him.
I can't. I'm just trying to get someone else
Oh, you
connected
need
right
to
now.
be able to work the keyboard.
A little bit.
And that's fine.
It's a shame.
I'll flip it over in like 10 minutes. How about that?
Project him.
Because Gwen's having a problem
Hologram on the
connecting.
wall.
So
Who is?
Gwen.
Gwen. Oh, awesome. Okay. She refused me, so yeah.
Sashi
Uki
Joshi
Meta
Chan
Vira Linchi Niente Yampadi Sange Shingu Mekte Oaki Droku Nanda Shingla Chupasho Nidang Guru Ratna Mandala Kamiratayan
Sange
Chudam Soki Chokam La Changchu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Chinyen Kipe Tsunamki Drola Penchir Sange Trupasho Sange Chudam Soki Choknam La Changchu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Chinyen Kipe Tsunamki Drola Penchir Sange Trupasho
Sange
Chudam Soki Choknam La Changchu Bardu Dakni Kapsuchi Daki Chinyen Gipe Tsunamki Drola Penchir Sange Trupasho.
Okay. All right. Nice. So we started with prayer. Some of you aren't familiar with them, I think. So the first prayer that we did is a mandala offering. It's setting our intention for the teaching to be something that helps direct us towards a perfected world, a pure world, right? And then the second prayer, which we did 3 times, is refuge prayer. It's a prayer that is about opening our hearts to the teachings of wiser beings than ourselves. Okay. Which is meaningful to me. So, all right. So that's what those prayers are. They're in Tibetan, and we traditionally do them at the beginning and the end of the teaching. When Geshe-la taught this in Germany, we didn't do the prayers, but because this is a group of people that have come through Yoga Dharma and through our other courses that we've done, That would be nice to start with the prayers. And so Wendy and I had the good fortune to go to Germany and hear this teaching that Geshe-la put out. He put out an email to the Worldview community, which is the umbrella or name of the organization that has many facets, under which he is the main inspiration and the driving force. And the letter said that, I'm doing this teaching in Germany. The community there is really ready for to go deep, and I'm going to take them there. And if you can come, it would be a good time to come. Yeah. And so I had, I thought, well, that's really nice. It'd be cool to go, and my life is really busy right now, and I'm distracted because I work that weekend, my kids, and blah blah blah. Right? I had all these reasons to go, and money, and so. And Nicole who's also in Arizona, and our friends of ours conspired to raise the money. For me to be able to go, and Wendy went, and sorry, I don't mean to be mushy, but this happens to me sometimes. Anyway, it was extraordinary. It was awesome. It was like perfect timing for us in our lives, and so in gratitude to the people that contributed, and I thought, well, I've got to share this stuff. It was an incredible weekend. The teaching was awesome. I've never heard such concise and direct and just to the point as this. It took the whole ACI and condensed it down into one weekend, the emptiness teachings, and made it so palatable. So if we can do, 10% justice to what Geshe-la taught, you guys would be better off for it. All right. And hopefully we can do that. And, or maybe even better. I don't know. We haven't started yet. But, so to set the teaching, what happened that inspired Geshe-la to do this teaching was that when he was in China a couple of months ago, he was asked by a student, so from the way I understand seeds, as you have taught them, karma, how it works, is it true that when I kiss my girlfriend, I'm kissing myself? Because everything, everything comes from me, right? And so, Geshe-la's been teaching, many of Geshe-la's teachings in recent years have been focused on how karma works and really, really honing people's skill in working with karma. And so he saw in this question both a deep understanding, but a gap too. And he decided he needed to teach to that. And so he took those, that night he taught till 3 a.m. and took that group of people, working with people in Germany. And he decided and developed this whole course for the people in Germany because he saw that they were ready for it too. He could see, based on how well they practice. The community there is incredible. It's very cohesive, very strong. Beautiful community of people. The teaching had people from all over the world, about 180 people from all over the planet. It was really, really fun from a social point of view, and then also just profound. So, so this teaching is about how do we plant the seed? What's the direct cause, and then what are the contributing causes that lead one to have the most profound experience that we can have consciously, which is to, you know, in the language of the retreat, it was what are the causes to be able to touch the diamond world, or the way we talk about it in Yoga Dharma or in ACI is how do we bring ourselves to a direct perception of emptiness? In Christian thought, it would be how do we touch the face of God directly? How do we come to that experience? In how do we reach nirvana? Right? So we're going to do this, Wendy, and so I wanted to do this thing, and then Wendy was there, and it was perfect because we could do this together. I think much better than I would ever be able to do it on my own. So it's really sweet to have you here. It's nice to sit with a cohort and do this. So, thank you.
You ready to get started?
Yeah, so Wendy's going to start us off with a meditation that we did. We're going to sort of backload this teaching. And so we're going to start with the meditation, and then we'll go through the material that brings us there.
Before I start, I just want to thank Kendall, because if it weren't for Kendall, I wouldn't be here. So I want to. Okay, so we're going to start with a meditation. It's called the 4 Kinds of Space. And we're going to spend about 40 minutes, maybe a little more, maybe a little less on it. So please be comfortable, okay? So if you feel like you need to shift around or use a zafu or just kind of need something to support your feet, feel free to do that. And you probably don't, want to have your clipboard.
There's a cushion out there.
Okay, so we're just going to start right in. So please close your eyes, come to a comfortable seat. And relax your feet. Lift your heart a little bit, and even bring in the low belly to navel center to just kind of give a little lift to your low spine. Relax your shoulders. Make sure they're not tilted or one higher than the other. Drop them down from your ears. And even your head, your lips, your tongue. Let it rest behind your teeth. And as you breathe, go for refuge to the 3 jewels. The Buddha jewel, Dharma jewel, and the Sangha jewel. And generate a sense of bodhicitta. The wish for enlightenment for all living beings, everywhere. Feel that open in your heart. See your teacher directly in front of you, sitting knee to knee, and look in their eyes. And know that they are so happy to be with you, close to you. And out of respect for their kindness, bow your head. Acknowledge them. And offer them something of great meaning. Perhaps it's something that you're working on spiritually. Perhaps it's a very kind thing you did for someone who needed you. Or even a sky of lotus petals. Think of something in the last 24 hours that you did that you wish you hadn't. Just regret it and say it to them. And let it be done. Think of something that you are happy about. Something that you did in the last 24 hours that brought joy. And say that as well. Ask them to teach, to stay, that you might be close to them. And to bless your mind with spiritual aptitude and attainments and realizations. And then move into the perfect 10, into breathing out and breathing in and counting that as 1. and let it go. And start with imagining that you are on a tall mountain peak. Far above the tree line and far above wires and buildings and cell towers and anything that could obstruct your view to the sky. And lay down on a great patch of green velvet grass. And feel a sense of relaxation and comfort as the blades of grass receive your body. And even you can make a small pillow for your head behind, with your hands interlaced behind your head. Just be comfortable as you gaze up into the sky to a single point of blue. Not a cloud, nothing interfering with a direct sight of a point of blue. And let your mind relax into the direct sight of a point of blue. Reflect upon what you are really seeing. Not really an absence or a negative, but rather something positive on a broad swath of color of the blue. Relax and hold your mind on the lovely blue. Let your mind come back to the great mountain meadow and the blue sky and the earth beneath you. And begin to imagine the sun beginning to set. And as the sun sets, the color of the sky changes. And it turns from bright blue to dusky gray. And then even deeper gray as it approaches black. Like black velvet high above you. And as that comes with the setting of the sun, you notice stars. And you notice planets and twinkling lights. far above you. Settle into the black sky with the twinkling lights. And notice that there is space between every light. And focus on the darkness between the lights. The kind of space we often think of as outer space. No stars in the black space, no planets. Real space. And enjoy the pure black of an interstellar void. Take your mind through that void. Stretch it to the outer edges, and then again beyond and beyond. And follow beyond. To the boundless ends of space. And then move it even further. Never really reaching a border. Still with the night sky above you. Bring your mind back to the feeling of earth and soft blades of grass beneath your body. And feel the softness of the grass beneath your body, under your back, connecting your body with the grass and the earth. And try to imagine the space or the place where both your body and the earth occupy. As the earth spins on its axis, orbits the sun, try to feel how your body and how the earth occupy empty space, moving position in empty space. Exiting one position, moving to the next. Yet the space never changes. Come back and feel the earth and the grass beneath you, the black sky with glittering lights above you, and your own body sandwiched between earth and sky. Take a few minutes and think where all these things come from. The stars, born of cosmic dust, from a vast explosion of a tiny thimble full of compressed energy 13 billion years ago. Thinking about that. And the earth you lie on, the surface of the planet, 4 billion years. And the grass from seeds inside tiny dust, months back. And even your arms and legs from tiny bits of your mother and father. And food and air of a lifetime. We can think of things happening this way, but go deeper to the real causes of things. Creation without a moral component is an impossible. Everything you're experiencing, lying on the grass, came somehow from how you treated others. Assuming you like it, that you find it pleasant. These things are coming from seeds in your mind that you planted when you were good to someone, when you were kind. Even the stars and the explosion of a thumbnail-sized piece of existence that created the earth and the grass and your body, all images emerging from mental seeds as they split open inside your mind, inside your own awareness. Which means that you caused each of these objects. Which means that you were there billions of years ago for the explosion to have happened. What if all this different way of looking of things is true? If that's the case, then the stars and the planets and your arms and legs that didn't come from your own seeds don't exist, never existed, and could not exist. Go into that thought. Let your mental eye pass by the black of space and diamond stars. Touch the grass. And let yourself see the impossible that used to be there and is gone a world that could ever not come from your own space. There's a space, a truly everywhere empty space, left behind in the absence of where you used to think everything was coming from. And just try to find that space and try to relax into that space. Rest, and like a mental green grass that feeds your happiness for the rest of your life, be in that space. When that is complete for you, open your eyes.
Is it not working? There we go. Signed it, so it's tricky that way. Okay, so thank you. Yes. Nice to go back. All right, so Wendy just led us on the 4 kinds of space meditation. And so we're gonna build to our explanation of what the 4 kinds of space are about, really. And it's a meditation that's really great for developing the fluidity of mind to be able to go to a direct perception of emptiness. And we'll do it, and next time when we meet, we'll do another meditation. It'll be really, really very cool meditation that fits really well with this one. So the way that Geshe-la started this teaching was he started talking about like what it takes to understand what it is that he was going to teach us. And he used the word kelwa, which is like, it's a, and I think you guys have this quality because you're because you're here. And because you've dedicated yourself to teachings over time. And what kelwa is how he described it is, it's the ears to hear more deeply than how many people might hear that hadn't been introduced to this stuff over time. Right? So because you're a practitioner, right, and we've studied this stuff together in one form or another, you know, with various ones of us, it's kind of fun because when the Dharma went to Tibet, the lineages that they would follow looked like, they called them like hairballs, like, you know, people would, because everybody was teaching everybody, you know, and there wasn't like a direct lineage, so we're probably kind of a hairball here of lineage, but as the Dharma enters the United States in a good way. So anyway, because we've been introduced to these teachings and these ideas, like at the beginning, we're planting seeds for these ideas to flourish in us. And as we practice more deeply, those seeds are multiplying. And so, you know, as a yoga practitioner, you understand your yoga asana practice so much deeper than you did when you first started it, right? And you probably have a more deep experience in your practice than you did then. And having the ears to hear is just the unfolding of your practice. See, so, and in all the mystical traditions over time, there's teachings that are heard differently by everybody that hears them, you know, depending on, you know, as Christ called it, the ears, having the ears to hear. So just check my notes. Yeah, so in the work that we've done together, we've talked a lot about how karma works. And so hopefully through that work, you've started to practice with those ideas and you've been able to see how it is that when you plant seeds and set an intention, you move through an action that follows that intention, right? And you dedicate the action towards a specific goal, that you've seen some of that work. And again, to touch on a Christian teaching, you know, Jesus said, you know, the seeds that you plant will flourish in different ways depending on the soil you cast them in, right? So what this teaching is about is how do you develop the most rich soil you possibly can for the seeds that you plant. And it's really through this wisdom, right? So why do you want to have a direct perception of emptiness, right? And what comes from that is this deep inborn wisdom that follows with the rising of your actions, your experience, and then compelling the correct action to come out of that. So, in other words, like if you're in a situation and I don't know if you have this experience, but for me, maybe something difficult comes up and I don't want to admit that it's coming from me. You ever have that happen? Like,
Every day.
Right? Well, that's a certain kind of ignorance that we hold that has us project, and then we act out of that ignorance and create the seeds to have that repeat itself until we get it, right? So, deeply out of the fourth space that Wendy described so beautifully in the meditation, if we understood that that thing was rising out of that space, our inner space, right, then we would be compelled to act correctly. You see what I mean? To not perpetuate those seeds, but to correct them, to flesh them out, weed them out of the garden, and be free of them. Right? So Kelwa then is to have the ears to hear, like, what is empty space? What is the space for that outer space exists within, this unchanging space, right? And then how is that like our inner space of which rises, right? Like mirrors. Okay. So
one of the images, that Geshe started with to try to bring a group along to understanding what he called the diamond world, or core reality, or ultimate reality, or emptiness, is this image of Grand Central Station. And he talked about how Grand Central Station, everybody been to Grand Central Station? Okay. So you know that probably, since we're all Easterners and we live near there, Manhattan is built on a slab of granite. And that's part of why Manhattan can have these enormous skyscrapers and not sink into the water, because it's got this amazing underpinning of granite, right? Okay, so the people in Grand Central Station, I've been there, it's busy. People are rushing for their train. They are buying coffee. They are getting something to eat. They are not thinking about the granite that's holding up Grand Central Station. Okay, that's like just not on their mind. So, so emptiness is kind of like that. It's just, we're not really, many people are not really that focused on it. It's not something that they think about on an everyday basis, because we go about our life and we're just busy catching the train and busy getting a cup of coffee. And so that doesn't mean it's not there. Okay, it means that it allows Grand Central Station to exist. It supports it. It allows all of that stuff to happen above the tile floor of Grand Central Station. And it's just quietly there, very silent, just the underpinning of granite. So kind of working with that image, he brings us into, why he would use a diamond metaphor even for the granite of Manhattan. Okay, so we can kind of move from just that idea, right, that it's all busy, people aren't really focused, and it allows everything to function.
Yeah.
Anything?
No, I'll just go
Yeah.
into. So there's this idea, right, of this stillness that lies beneath. Like with this metaphor, the stillness of the bedrock lies beneath the busyness of the mind. It's a metaphor for our mind. Like our mind arises out of that stillness, and we mainly spend our time in that busy space, right? And by dropping into that stillness, which in actuality is like a higher reality, it's not beneath the mind. It's really a higher reality. It permeates all things, and so it's Geshe in his teaching moved now into a description of the diamond world. Like, so if you touch that, if you drop mind into the experience of that stillness and that void, that vastness, right, and see how it is. Actually, I say drop in, but open the mind too, because that emptiness, that stillness is the underpinning of everything. It hangs on everything. And because of the way that it does that, right, a person that has experienced it, right, and people that have experienced it look for a metaphor when they come out of the experience. They have all these, incredible realizations, and but what people that have come out of that experience have drawn from metaphor, and it's universal in this way, is they've used the diamond as a metaphor. It's like the best metaphor that we have in physical reality to that experience. It's not even close to the experience, because it is a positive thing. It is still this thing that we place mental constructs on, but it's the closest thing we have, and there's reasons why. So what is it about a diamond that makes it representative of this experience of mine? And the first is, it's the closest thing that we have to an ultimate thing. Like, there's no substance that's harder or purer in the universe. Like, you can't get a purer diamond than a diamond. The diamond is pure. It's a purest form of carbon that there is, right? And there isn't a part of a diamond that's less pure than another part of a diamond. If it's a diamond, it's pure, it's ultimate, right? And it can't be more or less diamond and still be diamond.
Right.
All right, there, thank you. All right, so it's an ultimate thing, and there aren't other things like it in our experience. And there's other qualities. So what else?
Right. So part of that is that nothing cuts a diamond but a diamond. Like, that's how hard, right? It's like 10 on the Mohs scale. The other thing is that diamond, if you had a wall of diamond and you looked through the wall of diamond, you would see nothing. It wouldn't obstruct your view. There's no obstruction to pure carbon. It's just invisible, really. And then there's a third quality,
which is that no matter if it's diamond dust or if it's a wall of diamond or the hope diamond or something, they're all the same. So, and how that's a metaphor for emptiness is that while your emptiness and my emptiness are the same, have the same flavor, your emptiness only exists because you exist, right? So it's not the same diamond as mine, right? There's two different, but they have the exact same quality. All right, exact same taste, and that is invisible. And okay.
So if we were able to touch this diamond world, as Will said earlier, it changes you forever because you see dependent origination, you see a rising, and you see that where things are coming from. And so you wouldn't behave in a way, what's the matter?
No, I'm just listening.
Oh. He looked at me like shocked. And so as you see that happening, you, as Will said, you wouldn't behave in ways that would hurt others because you would know that it would really be hurting you. And so there's a lot that happens, and the difference in touching the diamond world and how that changes your evolution is like, and this doesn't even come close either. We should call it like the one-celled organism turning into Einstein. And I'm pretty sure we could say Cutter there, because it doesn't even come close, right? The evolutionary change that happens if you touch the diamond world. So, other changes that you'd like to point out, because I think there were a couple in terms of heart opening.
Yeah. So so in the teachings on the Dharma, there's bodhicitta, and there's two ways that bodhicitta is your love for other beings, right? And so until you have this experience, if you're invested in the idea of bodhicitta, right, which is to act for the benefit of all living beings, right? You grapple with your mind and your tendency towards self-cherishing to really fully do that. And so they call that kind of bodhicitta sugarcane bodhicitta, because it's hollow. It's not really very strong, right? And then, but the experience of the direct perception of emptiness, right, is this very huge heart-opening experience where you have the ultimate experience of bodhicitta. Your eyes are open to the suffering of the world, and how crazy people are, and so and how we generate our own suffering. And so because you've had this experience, you see where that arises from, then you're compelled to act on their behalf. You're driven. You can't not, because of how your mind has changed. You see, no longer are you a being that works out of your own self-interest, because you see that that's a failed enterprise. So anyway, right?
Yeah.
And so then we're going to, so then, like, in this system of thought, the way the Tibetans go about this, they go, okay, so what's going to bring us to this experience, right? And they do this thing of structuring reality, of like breaking out the structure of reality, right? And this is all, you'll see how it all unfolds. It's cool. So how do things exist, right? So we have this little map here that Wendy put together, but I thought it was too small for you guys to see. So I'm just going to draw it up, all right, bigger, so we can. So existing things. And I need to talk about what existing things are. In this system, existing things are anything that you can see. So seeing is believing kind of things. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you see them with your eyes. You see them with your senses, maybe your ears, you hear sound. So that's a sound is an existing thing. A smell is an existing thing. Something that you touch is an existing thing. And then other existing things are the things that you see with your mind. So thoughts that you have about things, realizations that you have, those are all existing things. Am I missing existing things?
It just, if there's a thing
We'll
that
go
doesn't
through it.
exist, it just doesn't get in the box at all on the flow chart.
Yeah, right. So if it's a thing, so then this breaks into two groups, and there's really changing things. And unchanging things. All right. This is a diamond. This is a square. Okay. Right. So existing things and changing things and unchanging things. Now, there's very few things. So we'll talk about changing things first, but just to point out the empty space, the third space that Wendy describes in the meditation is an unchanging thing. All right. So, and to get to that is a process of subtraction, right? Of eliminating things. Did you get that in the meditation, you guys, at all? How you had to subtract all things from the space to touch what that space was about, right? So well, we'll get further into that later because we've got to sort of move through, right? Yeah.
Okay, so changing things. I'm gonna just pull this up for him so he can see all the pages. So you already talked about the physical, mental, and things that are neither physical.
No, I didn't talk about that. All right, so changing things breaks into three different groups. Physical things, right? Mental things, and then things that are neither mental nor physical. That are changing things. So physical things we talked about, right? Any questions about what physical things are? And mental things we talked about too, right? And in mental things is feelings, thoughts, feelings, what else? Oh, yeah, and perceptions that are accurate or inaccurate, right? So, and I'm going to break into physical things. Do I need to do that, you think?
I think it's all the five senses, basically, right? Things you can touch, things you can taste.
Okay, so what falls into the category of not mental or physical is like mental construct, like my name, that will is the thing that is put on this conglomeration of parts, right? But it's neither a mental thing nor a physical thing. It's neither. It's a construct that you place on the parts. It actually becomes very important as you break down things, right? It becomes, because it's really what it's the label we place on a collection of parts. Right? It's neither mental nor physical. It's a label. The other thing that is neither physical nor mental is karmic seeds. Because if it, so what is mental? Like, what is mind? The mind is described in this system as aware and ineffable.
Invisible.
And invisible. Yeah, invisible and ineffable. Ineffable and aware. That's mind. Okay. So why karmic seeds then aren't mind is because they don't have those qualities. They don't have the quality of being sentient. They aren't aware. They are just they're seeds. And our awareness is what gives them the qualities they have. Okay? All right. And then mental things break into groups that are accurate perceptions, and inaccurate, mistaken perceptions. So mistaken perception would be something, all right, so this is a pen, right? We all see this as a pen, right? And that's a correct perception for you if you see this as a pen, right? If you're a dog and you see it as a chew toy, that's a correct perception for you, right? Right? So that's important. Right? A mistaken perception is a perception that's distorted by, if you had dropped a tab of acid or something and this became like a rocket ship. That would be a mistaken perception. Okay. Or if you were, intense emotions can create mistaken perceptions, right? Like anger, jealousy, something like that, right? Can distort one's mind to see things as other than the way they would be to anybody else, right? So, so we're breaking down how things exist in the universe in a positive way. Okay. So then accurate perceptions then breaks into 3 different categories. And it breaks into 2. One is direct perception and the other is indirect. Direct perception, you and I see this pen, right? We're holding it up where we can both see it, right? Indirect would be if I were to put it behind my back, you don't see the pen, but you haven't heard anything hit the floor, so logically you understand that the pen's behind my back. It's not a direct perception. It's a logical deduction, right? And that's considered an accurate perception, right? And we do it all the time, right? We make, like whatever, like, you can make deductive reasoning about many, many things, right? And so that's direct experience, right? Direct and indirect. And what we're going to see is like many things that we think are direct experiences are indirect. But anyway, that comes down the road. All right. So indirect then, I'll break that's this line here. Okay. Scratch that out. Breaks into 3 different groups. right? Deduction by logic. Another would be convention, like so. Like those are just conventions, like things that are accepted by everybody. So, like Eshla used like, if you were to say, "Oh, I bought a lemon," right, of a vehicle. I bought a car and it's a real lemon, right? Then the conventional thought on that is that you bought a crappy car, right? Or, you know, if you were to say like, "Oh, he's a liberal Democrat," then you would have certain conventions of thought about them, that they were, you know, into social programs and like the idea of government support for people that don't have as much, you know, that are less fortunate. And if you were to say, oh, they're a conservative Republican, you say, well, they believe that people should pull themselves up by their bootstraps and take care of themselves, and the government should stay out of the way, right, basically. Right, those are conventions that are accepted within society, right? So that's a way that we know things indirectly. And then the third one is by authority, right? So, you know, like, I know nothing about computers, so like if I wanted to know something about computers and I said, you know, listen, I want to buy a computer that does this, this, and this, I would ask Kendall, you know? And she would be the authority, and I would believe her because I know, like, she writes textbooks on this stuff and has dedicated her life to it. So I would know that, you know. Or if I want somebody to hook me up to Google Hangout, I call Mark, you know, because I'm like, well, if anybody I know can do it, Mark can do it, you see. So, you know, and if he tells me he can do it, then I go on that authority, I believe that, right? And, you know, and that's and we accept that as, and that's considered an accurate perception. You see, the perception of what you tell me about that is true, and because it's based in trust, right? All right. Yeah. Oh, direct, accurate perceptions. All right, direct, accurate perceptions, and indirect. Indirect's going to be in a rectangle. So there's two things that we've placed in a diamond here: unchanging things and direct perceptions. Right? This is where these two boxes, in all of the realities, all of the aspects of reality that we've covered, it's these two boxes that we want to focus on in terms of being able, so that we can start to direct our intention and our energy towards this experience, the ultimate experience. Right? Direct, accurate perceptions and unchanging things. Okay? All right. So that gives you a little framework to work with. Any questions? Anything you don't get or wonder about at this point? Okay. All right, so Wendy's going to take you a little deeper into the differences between these things.
Can we have a little break?
Oh, good idea.
Sure.
Yeah, let's take 10 minutes and really like make it 10. All right. So we'll get back. We'll do it 9. All right. We'll start back at 9 o'clock. And help yourselves get a drink and you know, take a leak or whatever you need to do. Go outside, get some fresh air.
I do just want. I was going down to the.
Still messy.
Yeah.
It's a hard day. Is that you?
No, it comes out of, oh, it does. Yeah, mental is right. Yeah, has accurate perceptions and mistaken perceptions.
So it's
Yeah.
really coming out of the changing cycle that we get another sign to see.
Yeah, it is all coming out of changing.
Yeah, so in a mental, which is subdivided into direct and indirect. And that direct, we then put the adjective accurate into that. Okay, but so the diamonds are coming again, some here and some derivation. One little
Yes,
part of it.
correct.
Okay,
You got
Good, good.
it. Very good.
Good, I just want to make sure my flow charts are.
Direct accuracy. Yes.
Yeah, it's cool, right? Because we've
Yeah.
gone from existing things to changing things. This comes out of mental, accurate perceptions. Direct.
One diamond.
Yes.
Yeah,
Just
on the
like that.
changing thing. Direct perception.
Yeah.
The direct perception of it. That's what we-
Yeah.
which is an unchanging.
We wanted to
So,
focus
so
on
how they come together, you know, how it is.
Oh, it's so good. Got it.
Yeah, that's interesting, it's cool.
That's very cool.
It's good to see that.
Yeah, right? Like a little bit of
A lot of the time it's almost perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so that's not Geshe who's sort of.
Oh, no, this is ancient.
Flow chart. This
No,
flow
this
chart
is,
existed.
this comes out of the Abhidharma question, which I should have mentioned, but yeah.
They even floated out.
It's like a,
Yeah.
it's like a 1800-year-old text.
Great, well, you guys are doing a beautiful job.
Yeah.
The cat was over
You laid it out for us.
So did you get this part of what?
Yeah, this was the course book.
Is it the one that put that up on the space?
Yeah, it started to.
Oh, not all of it, the beginning. Will you put it all? Oh, I think it's usually for sale or something.
They're going to make it a text book. Book, you know. It'll be published.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah. Oh, it's really great.
May I please look at it briefly?
Sure.
Is that all right?
Sure.
So the last part of what we want to talk about before we open it up for questions is this idea of positive and negative. And when we did the meditation, if you remember at the beginning was to blue sky, and that's positive. And then we went into the space between the stars, the positive, right? And then we went into empty space, which was more like position, right? And then that becomes more of an absence, more of a negative. And then we went into.
Do you guys get that?
No, I don't understand that.
Okay, so so there's nothing there. Okay, like if you move out of your chair, the picture of like occupying a chair, but what allows you to occupy the chair is empty space. Does that make sense?
Yep.
Okay, so if you move out of the chair, has the empty space changed?
No.
No, you've just moved your position into different empty space.
Mm-hmm. What I'm not getting is why that's a negative.
Because there's nothing there. There's an absence of any obstruction, which allows you to occupy it. Good? Okay. So very important. Then, so that's.
Can I ask you what? So negative and positive isn't good and bad.
No,
No.
not at all. In
Not in
fact,
this case, but it's a negation of.
right. Yeah, it has nothing to do with I like it, it's pleasant, or I don't like it and it's unpleasant. Okay. So, because remember that diamond is an absence of the direct perception of emptiness is the perception of an absence, right? It's of a negative. Okay. So, and that's the last piece, right? Is the fourth part of the meditation, which is the where you thought things were existing outside of you, solid, from their own side, okay? And if we go back to the idea of creation without a moral component, and that whole part of the meditation is an impossible, and that it's a seed coming from me that creates my, projected from me, forces my experience on this emptiness. Okay, now I don't want to use empty space because we've already used that phrase. Okay, so so we're getting into this idea of negatives, okay, of absences, okay, of absences, of something out there existing. So anyway, the way we Geshe-la introduced that idea was if you walk into your apartment or your home and your partner has you smell something and you say, that is not what I wanted for dinner. Does that happen to you? Okay, that is not what I wanted for dinner. There's this canceling out of the thing that
You want it.
okay? Yeah. All right. What about if I say, if I introduce myself and I say that I am not the President of the United States? You know, or, you know, there's an I exist, I'm not missing, but I'm canceling out that that's something that I'm not. Okay? All right. So then there is the teaching of I take you out to dinner and I want to treat you, and the bill comes and we have a lovely dinner, and I reach inside my pocket and what I'm going to pay for the dinner with my credit card, and it's not there. And I go, you know, because I kind of gasp. And that has happened to me. I've reached it. So I know that feeling, okay? Where there's an absence, and it's of something that really could have existed. I could have slipped it into my pocket, okay? And then there is the idea of negative, where it's not something that could have existed, which would be, what?
The horned rabbit?
Well, I was going to say, and what he uses is this 30-foot purple two-headed elephant in Will's living room. Like, that just doesn't exist. There's an absence of that, and it couldn't exist anyway, okay? So that's a missing thing that couldn't exist. And that's kind of like what we're getting, that is what we're getting at, because those things cannot exist out there separate from our karmic projections onto emptiness. Okay. Did I cover enough of positives and negatives?
Yeah. So, yeah, and there are a couple of things that I'd just like to go a little deeper with, if that's all right. And one is that the idea of empty space is really the space in which outer space exists. It's an unchanging thing. Does everybody understand that? Like, it doesn't move, it doesn't change, there's nothing in it. It's the space in which all things exist, but it's unchanging and void.
Is that what scientists would call the field of potentiality?
I guess so. You know,
Not familiar with it.
Oh,
in yogic thought and Hindu thought, it's Brahman. It's the
Brahman.
playing field of existence. It's the absence of all things, in which all things then become possible. And things can only exist because that space is there. Right. And then the other thing that I just think is so awesome in this, it was like just a new way of thinking about it, and it really helped me to understand some things more, is that creation without a moral component is an impossible. It's so awesome, right? And to bring that into what arises for us, so nothing exists for us that hasn't come somehow from how we've treated others, right? Whether it's something that's pleasant for us, unpleasant for us, or neutral, right? We have that positive experience of it, positive, pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral, right? But that is drawn out of a moral component that we place on all things. Without the moral component, that doesn't exist, except for as an empty thing, being empty of anything, right? So beautiful, so powerful, I think, to grok that. So as an image arises for you, right, it has one of those qualities. If you can see that as true, right, then at least for me, what it did was deepen my understanding and my connection to what it is that I'm seeing, being generated from how I've treated others. Right? So, does that make sense?
Sort of.
Yeah.
I mean, just to play the somebody advocate. Since I don't want to get into the morality of the devil or not. But so if there's a baby feeling discomfort in the mother's belly, that means the baby's discomfort is projected from its own kicking the mother in the liver or something, or?
Well, or from whatever.
Yeah.
Right. What would we say about that?
Well, it came from a previous life, probably.
Yeah. I mean, this body taking this form has been projected forward out by a moral imperative, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Is what this idea is putting forth.
Right.
It could not take shape because that's there.
Right.
Okay.
And so the patterns that we create through our experiences are the example of that, actually. Right? The patterns of discomfort or comfort are just the manifestation of our seeds ripening, right?
Yeah. So,
When you talk about a moral component, how exactly are you using the word moral?
that it has one of those qualities of being pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral. But it's a positive, which are positives that are placed on experience.
As opposed to negatives.
Huh?
As opposed to they're not empty. They're a positive, something we put on.
Right. Well, our experience, creation, right, is a positive experience.
Right.
Right. How you experience that which is created in front of you has to do with how you treated others. Right.
Right.
Right. So I think it's just, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, so as you go into that inner space, that, fourth space of seeing where things arise, see how they arise. Like how is it, right? If you can slow your mind down to the place of, being in a space, say when you come out of meditation, right? You open your eyes, right? Everything that you encounter, right? If you can see it as arising for you, or when you're in meditation, whatever comes into your mind is an arising. It's maybe easier that way to see it there, right? And see where it is that it arises from and what qualities it has. Right? And that's going to be really sweet. So this meditation, in 2 weeks we'll meet again, those of you that are able to and want to. And so I would suggest working with these 4 spaces. So the 4 spaces are the first space is like the distance between things. Like, in the meditation, it's the blue sky. It has the quality of blueness, and it's so it's a positive, right? Another way that it's described in in scripture is the space between things, the space that you fit things into. So like the distance between here and here is enough room to do certain things and not enough room to do others. Right? So it's a positive. And in that same way, the blueness of the sky is a positive in that first part of the meditation. And then the way we most often think of space when we think of, or another way that we think of space commonly is outer space. And that's expansive and huge, right? And there's vast areas where there is nothing. There are no things. But it's a changing thing. Things move in and out and all those components, and maybe there's molecules and atoms and stuff darting through there, right? So there's positive qualities to it. But then there's this third space, which is the space that all of that exists in, that is unchanging, right? That things can move in and out of because it's there and because it's void. Because there's nothing in it, there's nothing in it. So anything can happen within it, right? It's a void, it's a negative. It's the absence of all things. Physical, right? And that's really, so that's a good exercise for the mind. Also, that to go into that meditation in those 3 stages is beautiful, because you go from a positive to something that's vast, right? And you like open your mind to the vastness of space and travel through it, like Wendy took you through it, like let your mind go. And, in what will happen is, if you do a regular meditation like that, is your perception will start to expand. There's the and you will have a so like in the sutras, the 3rd chapter of the Yoga Sutras, where Patanjali talks about the cities, being able to see things that are far away, hear things that are far away, things like that. Those become available to people. So, the idea that a tree could fall in the forest and nobody could hear it becomes an impossibility, because there's beings that perceive all things. Right? They have an expansiveness of mind to be able to perceive those kinds of things. Right? So there's, side benefits, I guess you would call them, right? Like frosting on the cake or something, but that comes from the meditation, and it sets the stage to drop into that stillness that all things arise in.
I have a couple questions. So is the empty space of the place that Betsy sits into the same as the empty space that Betsy moves into as she moves away from the chair?
Well, it's got a different, the coordinates of the new space would be different. They don't move, you see, so she's occupying the space that is where her chair is. As she moves, she'll move into different space.
Then different empty space.
It doesn't travel with her or anything. It's not like, it's yeah.
Okay. What is it?
I was just going to say, does that empty space actually exist?
As an unchanging thing.
Oh.
Yeah, because if it didn't exist, she couldn't sit in a chair.
Infinite.
Huh?
It's infinite. Okay.
Yeah, infinite.
From a middle way view, this idea of morality, I get that it's not nihilistic, but it sounds like that we're saying then It's an existing thing. We're saying that morality has to, then we're saying that things are real.
No, it doesn't. Where does the moral component come from? All right, so like, right?
See, Wendy, we get to play here.
Yeah, where does the moral component come from?
Well,
It comes from the seed.
the moral component rises from me.
Right. Right.
So
So
things. That looks dangerous.
so
Flower. A gentle flower.
so the carnation for me gives me pleasure.
Okay.
Right. And it's because of what I bring to it. It doesn't have pleasure itself. Right? And if I were allergic to carnations, it would give me, I'd have a very different reaction to holding it. Right? That comes from me. And those seeds for those experiences are in me, and they're based on how I've treated other people.
So are we saying that that morality has to exist, or morality has to arise?
Yeah, morality arises. It's created. What is it? Yeah, that creation cannot exist without a moral component. Because creation
Do they
has
rise together?
Yeah.
Creation and morality rise together.
Yeah.
What's that, Betsy?
I get bogged down in the terminology. I understand what you're saying.
All right. I get
Seat my
you.
pants.
Yeah. So
Sorry.
all right. I don't want you to be bogged down by it. I want you
No, I'm
to
not.
be liberated by it, right? So what so when when I have an experience, all right, and it's unpleasant for me, and it's an experience that has to do with interaction with something else, right? If I can see that the moral component, the unpleasant nature of it is arising in me,
Right.
has nothing to, well, that it requires that thing that's out there in order for me to have that experience, but I'm creating it, right? Do you get that?
Both
Then-
the thing and your reaction to it.
Well, the thing is I see it, and my reaction to it at the very least, we'll put it that way, okay?
Yeah.
If I understand that, then and that the way I'm experiencing it has to do with how I react to it, right? Right? I'm not trying to figure out where it came from or anything like that. I just don't want it to happen again, right? Right? Because I've generated it. And so that gives me the possibility to change it. Okay? Does that make sense? And it's a hard thing to grok because we live, because of the way we see things, our tendency to see things. And so right now, right, as we talk about it, right, you're maybe having a indirect experience.
Well, you just.
That's either based on logic or, maybe authority, but probably logic. Hopefully logic. That's closer to a direct perception than authority is probably. Oh, I don't know. I can't say that. right? For me, it's an indirect experience, right? I'm not seeing the quality of beauty arising, like that necessarily. Actually, in the moment, I'm not doing too bad, but right? But most of the time, I see things as outer and inner. I see it as in a dualistic kind of way.
So the emptiness of the morality would be that the morality could be good or bad or
This is
indifferent.
blank.
Right.
This is blank. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not pretty. It's not ugly. The pen, right? So, hopefully when we do this and we say, okay, so for a person, this is a pen. This cylinder is a pen. For a dog, it's a chew toy. So what is it? Right? It's neither by itself. By itself, what is it?
By itself.
It's nothing, right? So hopefully maybe for a second you get that. The quality of penness falls away from this object, maybe, if you go back and forth between things and then go, oh, it's neither. You have that understanding like, oh, logically it's neither. Anyway, I don't want to get too caught up in a lot of in
When I was a child,
space.
that pen was actually a rocket ship,
Awesome.
right?
Yeah. It was a chew toy for me. But
Well, occasionally it was a chew toy, but it was a rocket ship.
yeah, neat. Very cool. Nice. So anyway, what I'd like you to come away with is the ability to work with that meditation in a meaningful way. And that has to do with moving from positive space to the negative space and then see what is arising. Okay?
Could you talk about the fourth space? Because I think I kind of dozed a little. I was saying, wait, there's a
That's
gap.
why we did the meditation first. Because if we wait till 8 o'clock, everybody's going to fall asleep.
So could you just talk about the fourth space?
Yeah, so the fourth space is I'm going to talk about it the way I understand it. And that is, okay, so there's, right, in the meditation you come back to the earth. You're laying on the earth behind you, under you, and then the sky above you, right? And so to see where all of that comes from, simply put, right, is the fourth space. To come to see that it doesn't exist out there, that those things arise. It couldn't exist out there the way that you think it does. And what's helpful to me in that part of the meditation is to drop into that, and I think of it as inner space. There's outer space and then there's inner space that's a void from which all things arise. And then I can see the things arise in it. All of those things. Right? And when you're on your cushion, it's nice because you can just take them one by one. Right? You can focus on one thing and see how it is that that's arising for you. And move on to something else, right? and that all things have that void space. You know, that all things are empty of nature of their own, so that, you know. And then next time when we get together, we'll talk about the qualities of those things that arise. It's really cool. He took us like, it was so cool. So this was the beginning step, you know. And then so we'll talk about the meditation will be a meditation that will be, as Geshe described it, it plants the seed to have the direct perception of emptiness, right? The direct cause of that experience. And then we'll talk about contributing causes, the things that you can do around that. So this is a contributing cause. Anybody else got questions?
Tim has a question.
Tim.
He texted it to me. It's pretty deep.
I bet it is. That old Tim. He's got ears to hear.
Okay, my question is, when we talk about mental seeds, we talk about it as though they reside in the mind, as though the mind is a holding place for them and they arise in it. And then we talked about emptiness as pure awareness, void of labels, before labels. That inner space is pre-mind. How is the first conception helpful for us to move into that inner space?
In 25 words.
That inner space prior to the mind, prior to the experience of quote-unquote mind.
Good question. I haven't had a direct perception of emptiness, so I'm going to speculate. And that is that that awareness has in it this quality of creation, right? And that when we move into a direct perception of emptiness, that the quality shifts from karma arising, that we come to see that that's also empty of the nature. And I don't know if that's answering your question, but that that mind arises out of awareness, and that our experience of it is directed by karma, right? And so the seeds are there in that mind stream. Ineffable means undescribable, right? Without edges, the mind, right? Mind. So I don't know, Tim, but I think that mind, the way we typically experience it, is a much more contained experience than that than the experience of mind in the direct perception of emptiness. Does that help?
I got bubbles. It's typing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Did it help?
Yes, that is helpful.
Okay. we're going to do prayers again. I'll explain this time before. So that you can participate in whatever way you'd like. If you're not familiar with the prayers specifically. So we offer the mandala again, right? So make an offering of a perfect world, like a diamond world, maybe. And then we do a dedication prayer. So then you dedicate the good karma from what we've done today, right? This is a step in the 4 steps of karma. We dedicate any goodness that we've derived from this. We dedicate it to a specific goal or end for the purpose.
Sashi Purki Jokshin Metatron Rira Vinci Yente Yempati Sange Shindu Nikte Obarki Roku Namda Shingla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratnamanda Viratayami Kevadi Kevokum Sunram Yeshe Sososhin Sunram Yeshe Lejo We Tampa Kuni Toparsho.
Thank you.